Hey guys, it's the one and only coming to you with a review I honestly never imagined would see the light of day. For the longest time ever, I thought this product would be abandoned and forgotten despite all the nostalgia I get every time I hear the word iPod. In a way, I'm happy the iPod Touch got a revival, but at the same time, the burning question still lingers. Who in the world is the iPod Touch for in 2019? At first glance, one would probably just look the other way at the modest features the iPod carries that at one point in history reigned supreme and just about everyone had one. It looks the same, feels the same, has the same screen size, and even cameras remain untouched. No biometrics to speak of, and in 2019, entering in a passcode seems extremely archaic and outdated. We are also used to Face ID or Touch ID that often we look over it and never stop to appreciate just how quick and seamless biometric authentication really is. But I do still think there's a small, and I mean a very tiny niche for this product. We'll cover this product in detail, but if you haven't yet, destroy the like button and subscribe to my channel as my next giveaway for Powerbeats Pros or AirPods is right around the corner. So make sure to turn on that bell notification to always be up to date and follow me on social media to always be in the loop. Links are in the description. Additionally, I'm sorry if I sound a little weird. I did just have Invisalign put in my mouth, so I'm kind of getting adjusted to speaking with it, so I'm sorry if I have a small lisp. It's kind of weird, I know. Grab your Starbucks, grab your chips or snacks, and get ready to take a trip down memory lane as we take a closer look at the newly refreshed 2019 iPod Touch. So the iPod Touch unboxing is very familiar and brings so much nostalgia, so just in case, I have a box of tissues off camera in case tears start rolling down my cheek from remembering the good old days. Anyway, this is unlike the majority of Apple unboxings. We have a plastic shell containing our beloved iPod Touch inside, instead of a white box made out of recycled material. On the left and right, we have iPod Touch branding as well as an Apple logo on the top and model number and serial number information on the bottom. If you notice, we have a small tab on the top indicating to us to peel to open our protective plastic case. Once peeled off, the box opens right up. No need for any unboxing tools like my spatula thingy or my machete. Next up, our iPod is just laying there, chilling, waiting to be loved and caressed, but actually, we'll set that off to the side for just a bit and we look into the contents of our box. Inside, we'll find our product warranty and information guide and my 80th pair of Apple stickers. Yes, I counted them. Underneath that, we have our wired earpods with no remote control. So they're just standard wired earpods, not AirPods. And of course, our USB to Lightning cable used to sync and charge up the device. Now getting back to our iPod Touch. It is still laying in this tray with this protective sticker over it. No, this is not the actual screen like my prepubescent dumbass initially thought when I got my first iPod. It's just a sticker, so make sure to peel it off and voila. There you have it, the newly refreshed iPod Touch 7th generation with its small but gorgeous 4-inch Retina display. Taking a really quick tour, we have our Lightning port on the bottom used to charge our device, flanked to the left by our 3.5mm headphone jack, and our not so impressive speakers to the right. On the left, we do have our volume rockers, on the top, our sleep-wake switch. On the back, we see our beautiful red aluminum color, which brings me to a quick side point. One of the selling points of the iPod Touch line is the variety of colors it has to offer. It's much like the iPhone 5C, remember those? And the iPhone XR. The use of many colors to attract attention, much like the baboon uses its big bright red to attract a mate. Anyway, we have our Apple logo, and underneath that, we have product red branding, which by the way, if you choose this color, a portion of the proceeds will go to helping fight against AIDS in Africa, which I think is really cool. We also do retain our 8-megapixel rear camera with a microphone to the right of it, our flash, which I'm glad is here since I use the flash more as a flashlight than I do for photos when I'm walking downstairs in the night and don't want to break my shin on a table or stub my fat toe. And finally, this thing to the right is a plastic window used to allow Bluetooth and Wi-Fi to better pass through. We also do have a 1.2 megapixel front-facing camera, good for using FaceTime, although at rather poor quality if you ask me. But for $199, what did you expect? Last but not least, on the bottom we do have our home button, and again we have no Touch ID here, sadly. You have a variety of colors to choose from here. You have pink, silver, gold, blue, Product Red, and Space Gray, with Space Gray being the only model that carries a black front. This is touted as an iOS device without the phone contract for just $199 for 32 gigs. There are other configurations, that being a 128GB version for $299 and a massive 256 gig option, being even bigger than any of the configurations ever possible on the iPod Classic. Remember those? Which went up to 160 gigs. Crazy, I know, but this 256 gig version will set you back $399, which treads dangerously close to used smartphone territory. For $400, why not go out and find yourself a decent iPhone 7 or 8? Has the same functionality, better specs, and more features for about the same price. I'm sure looking online on eBay or Letgo wouldn't be too hard to find an iPhone 7 or 8 around this price point. Here's the thing though, the only update we got is the improved processor, and I'm not going to count the 256 option as a feature because it's not. Probably around 75% of all new iPod Touch sales will be the 32GB variant. So with that being said, if you already have an iPod Touch 6th gen or heck even a 5th gen, I would highly suggest straying away from upgrading if the sole purpose for your iPod is to listen to music. Only reason I'd say to upgrade is if you plan to play games or subscribe to Apple Arcade. I can attest to this. Clash Royale felt so sluggish and slow on the 6th gen, but with the improved processing power, not only Clash, but all apps seem to run smoother and open up much faster. You just get a zippier experience from this iPod as compared to the last. Speaking of improvements, we move up to Apple's A10 Fusion chip, up from the Apple A8. The A10 Fusion was first used in the iPhone 7, which released back in 2016. So this kind of tells you what Apple has been doing lately with their so-called updates. It's getting kind of ridiculous. Not even an A11, but the A10. I wonder if Apple just had too many A10 chips at the warehouse and Tim Apple just decided to make new iPods with the A10 to deplete their supply. I'm not sure. So think about this iPod as already being technologically inferior, holding almost 3-year-old processors. One interesting note is that the A10 is underclocked in this new model iPod as compared to other A10 devices. The guys over at Mac Rumors have ran some Geekbench tests and found that the iPod Touch's A10 is running at 1.6 GHz compared to 2.3 GHz in the 6th gen iPad and iPhone 7. Of course, both of these devices use the A10 chip as well. Since the iPod presumably has the same battery size as the 6th gen iPod, that being a 1043 mAh lithium-ion battery, this measure was put into place to preserve the battery, no doubt. Per Mac Rumors results, the iPod Touch earned a single-core Geekbench score of 2,722 in their testing and a multi-score of 4,695. In comparison, the 6th gen iPad came in at 3,520 single-core and 6,079 multi-core, showing the huge disparity between the two devices despite carrying the exact same chipset. I'm really not worried about it though. No one goes to their iPod Touches seeking a powerful device anyway. I'd rather prefer a longer battery life on a device like the iPod Touch rather than performance, since there are other Apple ecosystem devices that fit that role, like the iPad Pro or MacBook Pros. I think we bash on the iPod Touch a lot as it is already, but there are slight advantages that the iPod Touch has that aren't as quickly apparent. For one, the device is only 6.1mm thin and an astonishing 3.10 ounces. It's so thin. When you have it side by side to other devices like your iPhone and iPads, you start to see that sometimes having a small device in certain situations is more ideal. Another thing is that the iPod still retains the 3.5mm headphone jack. I'm sure it must have taken a lot of courage to leave that there, as I know many people who will happily praise the iPod Touch for retaining it. Otherwise, Apple would take major heat because after all, this is a music player, so it makes sense to leave it there. Disregard what Apple thinks. The 3.5mm headphone jack is still incredibly useful in 2019. If you do have wireless headphones though, you won't run into any problems as the iPod Touch also supports Bluetooth 4.1. It does pain me to see such an iconic device fade into obscurity, but with tech, it's just the way it is. Technology advances at such a rapid pace that now it seems there's no room for iPods, especially when stats show that a good majority of people, that being more than half, own a smartphone in the United States. Your smartphone comes embedded with a music player, so having this in mind, why get an iPod? The iPod Touch was originally all about music, but you can make an argument that it is also a gaming console. All eyes are set on Apple as hardware sales for iPhones are plummeting, so they're banking that their streaming services will show the world that they're a company of many accolades. At this price point, you can't deny it's a decent way to get introduced into the Apple ecosystem. No bargain for sure, especially with services like Apple Music, Apple News Plus, and Apple Arcade just around the corner. So my deal with the new iPod is this. What if you already have a smartphone? You don't even have to have the latest and greatest. What if you have a decent Android, iPhone, or Google phone that has all the features the iPod Touch has or better and didn't cost you a kidney, and you simply want an extra device to play iOS games, especially with the rollout of the new Apple Arcade coming soon, or stream music with Apple Music, or have something really small and tiny instead of carrying your brick of an iPhone XS Max to the gym while working out? In that case, the iPod Touch is a clear candidate for you. If you don't really mind carrying around two devices, that is. Or, believe it or not, I know some people that like leaving an old phone in their car to have hooked up to their Bluetooth or aux, in which case, the $199 iPod Touch is perfect for you, especially if you buy songs off iTunes or download them straight to the device. But as for who the iPod Touch is specifically for, I don't even know. You'll hear all over the internet that this is the ideal Apple device for kids, or an inexpensive good gift to give to someone like Michael Scott did in The Office. It's a great starter device, and after all, was the device that started it all for me. My first ever Apple device was the 2nd gen iPod Touch way back in the day. It's insane to see how far the iPod has come, but alas, I feel it's on its last legs. The iPod Touch does everything else the iPhone can do except for calling or SMSing. You name it. If hooked up to Wi-Fi, you can play games off the App Store, stream music through Apple Music, FaceTime, iMessage, Snapchat, Twitter, Instagram, everything. But that's the catch. You have to be connected to Wi-Fi, whereas with the iPhone, you're constantly connected if you have a current phone plan on your iPhone. For the average person who already has an iPhone or iPad, I say this is a straight up pass, unless you are in the half percentage minority of people who have a very specific use case for an iPod, a gift to a child, a secondary light device for the gym, or a cheap way to dive into Apple's new services. All are great motives to pick up this product. As stated, with this being such a minor upgrade, if you have a 6th gen iPod Touch, it makes little sense to want to upgrade. I'm still surprised Apple updated the iPod Touch. Countless memories with old iPods and nostalgia really make this product live up to its name. At one point, the iPod Touch was what today's AirPods are. You'd get bullied if you literally had any other kind of MP3 player. Everyone had one, or well, at least at my middle school. But let me know what you think. Do you think this is a useless product in 2019? Do you think Apple should have killed it off instead of updating it? On one side, there are people who adore the iPod and love its niche, and then there are others who think it's way too overpriced for what it is and should be killed off. But I don't know. Let me know in the comments below, and I'll catch everyone in the next one. Thanks for watching. Peace.